getting me some green tea. So, this is a one-day retreat. If you've never done a retreat before, this will seem very long. If you've done 7-day retreats, this will remind you of the first awful day of a 7-day retreat. You're just waiting to get done with so you can get on to the second or the third day. Everything's relative, depends on your point of view. How many of you have not done a retreat before? Gina, Paul, you've all done retreats online? Okay. So, you're all meditating together. So maybe let's say something a little bit about what meditation is, what it isn't. In the courses that we teach here at the Zen Center, we for a kind of entry level to practice, we emphasize mindfulness. And in those signature courses, we emphasize shamatha and vipassana type of mindfulness. In the shamatha, or one-pointed attention practice, you're working to kind of yoke your mind. Your mind is busy, and it seems necessary to you practice counting the breath, and you get to 10 and you start over. We emphasize the mechanics of that in the beginning, right? And there's value in that because the counting keeps you honest, because you can't, if you space out, you know you spaced out because you at some point you realize you lost the count. So it's a very good entry level practice. And there's a sense that you're watching the breath through the count. And then that mindfulness progresses to and so in that one-pointed attention, you really you begin to appreciate a sense of precision in the mind. You can land on one dot. You're not multitasking, you're doing one thing at a time, right? Like when we do song, we just do one thing. Sangha work practice. And then as we move more deeply into mindfulness practice, we emphasize open awareness. Now you're letting go of the count, but you're still using the breath is still a reference point, so to speak. You're using the out breath. And now instead of paying attention to the one dot, you're paying attention to everything that makes the one dot possible. You're paying attention to the context, to relationships, yes? So it's a very much, we call it open awareness practice. You're still following the breath out in your meditation practice. Now, both of these are really important entry-level practices of meditation that we teach here at our Zen Center. And if you're just starting out, you most likely would be, we would recommend that you start by counting the breath. Now, if you are further along in your practice and you're doing Zen training here, then we start talking about a different kind of practice altogether. And in our tradition, we call it shikantaza, which means just sitting. We also do koan study. I want to talk about shikantaza here for a moment because it's a very, very deep meditation practice. And the reason I don't teach it in the beginning here at the Zen Center, because I don't think people can do it in the beginning so easily. It's an advanced meditation practice. In shikantaza, there is no longer any watcher. In the beginning mindfulness of shamatha and open awareness, there's a sense of you're watching your thoughts and your emotions. But in shikantaza, there's no longer any watcher. You are the watcher. You're not, and if you're the watcher, there's nothing to watch. You're the watcher. You're no longer watching something else. There's no duality in shikantaza. So when you sit in shikantaza, it's a very deep and profound meditation practice. Everything sits. Everything sits when you sit shikantaza. really good practice for us in our time when we're so divided, so polarized. It's important that we be able to see the other, take other points of view, not be so rigid around our own sense of self-identity. So Shikantaza is an extremely deep, profound practice, and it's not like you have to try to do it. You're already doing Shikantaza. You just need to relax into it. You're already here doing it. So there seem to be three really important aspects. And when we do retreats, I teach more about Zen than mindfulness because this is a time to appreciate the richness of Zen as a spiritual path. And there are three things that are really important in Zen, and we need all three. If you forget one of them, it's not complete as a Zen spiritual path. So the first one is we really need to, Roshi Jun talked the other day about the ox herding pictures. We are searching for the ox. We're searching for the way. And you might think, oh, once you find the way, you don't need to search for it anymore. No, I don't think so. We always have to be searching for the way. In Japanese, it's called Hotsu Bodaishin, to raise the Bodhi mind, to raise the thought of enlightenment, to arouse bodhicitta in your mind heart, your awakened heart mind. And there's some sense of urgency about this, because you wouldn't be here in this retreat. I don't believe you would be here today if you didn't feel some dissatisfaction with samsara, with the normal promises that are held out by our conventional world. They are not satisfying. Fame, wealth, being right, winning, whatever. You're here because you know that the world is doesn't offer anything particularly satisfying. So, and we all know this, and it's important that we know this, that we're dissatisfied with the solutions that are held out by the culture. It's not just our culture, it's every culture. It's always been like this. And so there's something in us that feels some urgency, that there is a need to arouse ourselves so that we do this practice. And there's no end to this. Dogen Zenji says practice is enlightenment. So arousing the bodhicitta in ourselves is really important. And if you don't have this, then practice, you start to get kind of, what's the word, complacent. Oh, I've had Kensho. I know what that is. I passed Mu. I've heard Zen teachers say I never passed Mu. Still working on it. So you see, searching for the way is really important. You might think, oh, once you find the way, you don't have to search for it anymore. No. We have to search for the way. And that means that we actually have to arrange our life so that we can be the way, that we can practice so that we realize what the way is. And you've arranged your life so that you can spend this Saturday in retreat. You did that. And you did that because there's something in you that's searching for the way. It's active, it's not passive. You're actually looking for some deeper truth. And you're here because you, on some level, you hope or you believe that Zen holds out a deeper truth than what the culture has been to offer you so far. And so I think it's really important to emphasize this raising the Bodhi mind, this bodhicitta. Otherwise, you just don't arrange your life to be here. There'll be other things that take over. So there's this first part of practice. You're always, in a way, searching for the way, searching for the path. Have to find it. We fall off of it. We get back on. It's not a straight line. I saw a picture, a diagram of the way. Did you see that on social media? One of the mindfulness teachers had it was all squiggly lines. It said the path. Yeah, path isn't a straight line. It's our life. It's full of chaos and disorder and suffering and disappointment and loss and and we're searching. So we have to search for the path because it's easy to fall off of it. It's easy to miss where the path is. And then the second really important aspect of Zen practice is that you have to also see that you are the path. When we sit shikantaza, we are the path. There is no duality here. There is no watcher. There is nothing to be found. It's already here. You're already intrinsically awake. And you can't find this. You can't discover it. You can't own it. You can't lose it. It's not an it. It defies any words I use are somewhat inadequate. We say the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. You can't name. We have names for it, but it's not a name. And so when we sit shikantaza, you relax into the form of your sitting. You're sitting cross-legged, you're sitting in a chair. It's a letting go. Because it's already here. The only thing that gets in the way of being able to be this is some kind of struggle, some fear that something is missing in you, and nothing is missing in you. There's a beautiful thing about Zen. You're already whole. Everyone is whole, complete, as they are. There is absolutely nothing missing here. So this is the second aspect of Zen, is to realize, we call it Kensho or Satori, to really see the wholeness that you are, and you are the Buddha. And the small self, that's the small self is always searching for the way, and we also have that small self. And even though we clarify and see the wholeness, still we have the small self. We have this self that needs to go to work, that needs to takes the kids to school, that fixes breakfast, that pays bills, cleans the toilet, searches for the way, arranges one's life so that one can practice and realize that you are the way. But if you don't arrange your life for this, it'll be very hard to realize it. So we have these two sides. You might, and this is the middle way. It's not, the middle way isn't something in the middle that's safe. The middle way is the two extremes. There is the self and there is no self. That's the middle way. And we're both. We're always both. If you think you're going to get rid of your ego and realize no self, and there will be no small self anymore, I've got news for you. it's going to be a little disappointing. I don't know any Zen teacher that I ever studied with that didn't have an ego. Some of them had massive egos, as a matter of fact. I'm not going to get rid of the self. But I think what Zen does, it can help us let go of the grip we have on that ego, that self-identity. We have a pretty tight grip on it. And so part of what happens in Zen practice, Zen training, is we are learning to be able to let go of that kind of that cramp that we have around who we think we are, and realize that we're much bigger than who we think we are. And we can take different points of view. We can be something other than who we think we are. So let's do a little big mind here right now, okay? So I'm going to start doing big mind with you. You don't need to know what it is. Doesn't matter. I'm going to ask you to speak in a certain voice, okay? And just put it on like a piece of clothing and see what it's like, okay? So I want you to speak as the one who doesn't know who you are. The one who will never experience, ever experience knowing, the one who isn't you. Okay. Seeing some puzzled faces. I have such puzzled faces. Yes. Yeah, so see, that stopped you, didn't it? Yeah, how do you say who I'm not? Yeah, so right there, this is when I ask the question, this is not knowing. You don't know, do you? Yeah, that's good, you don't know. That's sin, not knowing. Yeah. And now we could go further. We could actually take on other selves. If you're having an argument, if you're talking to someone who has a different point of view, you could take their point of view. You could, because you could be flexible. Zen teaches us to let go of that grip on the ego. It's not so tight. We still use it. We still have it, but it's not all of who we are. And you know that because you've discovered that you are the Buddha, and the Buddha is not your ego. The Buddha is the largeness of who you are, which is. So let me speak to the Buddha for a moment. Big mind. And you speak in the first person, and I ask you who you are, and you tell me I'm big mind. Okay? Let's just try that. And you can shift your chair or not. We're going to just try this out, okay? There's joy. Okay, so I want to speak to big mind. Who am I speaking to?
Big mind.
So, what is it like here right now being big mind?
Confusing.
Confusing. Confusing? Okay. Anything else?
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
You don't believe it. You don't believe that you're a big mind. So you're not able to actually, you're not convinced that you could be here as big mind. Okay. Skeptic. Good. It's good to be skeptical. Yeah, this is a pretty bold thing to suggest you be at the moment. Anyone else?
Peaceful.
Peaceful. How big are you? How big are you? Really big. Can you measure it?
No.
Infinity. Vast. You're quite large, aren't you?
Huh?
Huh?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. I'm fat, but you're larger than that.
I'm bigger than you.
I'm overweight, but you're larger than that. What's it like to be this large? Let's just try it out for a moment. You don't have to there's no harm. You don't have to be big mind after this is all over. You can go back to being your small self. Okay. Try it out. What's it like being big? Huh?
Spacious.
Spacious, yeah. Pretty spacious, isn't it? What else?
Reach everywhere.
Hmm?
Can reach everywhere.
You can reach everywhere.
No limit.
No limit. Any fear? You have fear?
No.
This is like to not have fear. Try it on for a moment. Don't think about this. Just try it on like a suit of clothing. Don't think about it. Think about it, you'll get confused. Yeah. Yeah, anyone online you can speak up too if you want. Patrick, Umbo, you want to say something? How big are you?
I just want to observe.
Okay, that's fine. Fine. You can be the watcher. Yeah. Is there a watcher here as Big Mind? Is there anybody watching what you are doing? Are you watching yourself? Well, isn't that kind of interesting that you, as Big Mind, there's nobody to watch you being Big Mind because you're pretty big, spacious. You have about time. Do you have a birth date? When were you born as Big Mind? What? No birthday. Oh, that's kind of sad. You don't get to have a birthday. You have to have a birthday cake each year. No, I mean you have a birthday every day. There'd be a lot of cakes.
That's why you're so big.
Huh?
That's why you're so big.
Yeah. Well, I just want you to, at least in your imaginations, occupy this space for a moment where you are something that's larger than normally you think you are. And in this largeness, there's not only it's spacious, but apparently in terms of time, you can't really identify when you began and when you end this Big Mind. Is this not extraordinary? Isn't this extraordinary to be you can
At the same time, there's no separation between big mind and, because big mind brings in all of me. That means it brings in
it includes the self and everything too.
It includes all of it.
Yeah.
That permission that I grant myself is part of holding both.
Yes, but you're sort of stepping out of the big mind to do that. You're sort of stepping into another place, which is okay. We would call that the apex in terms of this work, where you're having both the self and the big mind. But the big mind itself doesn't seem to differentiate anything, or know, or discern anything. It's like just being. It's kind of doesn't know anything. It's that not knowing what you just had when I asked you to be who you aren't. We don't know big mind, but we are big mind. We can know it in the way that we know things, because to know something is to be dualistic. This is me that knows something, me and the something I know. The big mind doesn't know in that way. See? So when we're sitting shikantaza, when everything sits, we are big mind. We are seeing who we actually are, who we really are. because each of you really are the Buddha. The only thing that keeps us from seeing this is some doubt or some fear that we're not included in the Buddha nature, that maybe other people are, but there's something the matter with me. Or this is just intellectual, some kind of game that we're playing. So this is the second. There's no coming or going here. This is shikantaza. And there's no method here anymore. There's no technique. Like in shamatha and vipassana, we're still talking in the sense about a method. We're talking about some reference point with the breath. All that's gone in shikantaza. There's no method. There's no path because you are the path. You don't have to search for the path anymore. You've always been the path. And always will be. Timeless. So that's a big part of Zen. And that non-dual, this non-dual awareness is deep and has, I think it's really important in our world where we're so divided and cut off from each other, that we be able to see the other as ourselves. To see the immigrant as ourselves. To see the other political party, the other person as ourself, as myself. And then there's a third part of Zen that just absolutely has to be here, according to my tradition, and that is that once we have this see clearly that you are the Buddha, and there's nothing missing here. You've always been this big mind. Then there's some gratitude that comes from this clarity that, wow, some gratitude and generosity and bigness of spirit that comes, and because there's no fear here, I don't have to live with that fear and anxiety and depression and stress and struggle and all that stuff that my small self has been struggling with all my life. It's not here in Big Mind. There's none of this, no fear. And I feel enormously grateful to be able to see this. So the third aspect of Zen practice is that we give the merit back to others. We offer our merit, any merit that we get from this practice, we give it to others, because we can be that big. We can be big now. We don't have to be small-minded. We can be big and generous. There's nothing we need to defend. There's nothing we need to protect. I don't have to justify anything to anybody. And so we naturally take this vow to save all sentient beings, to help others. We give the merit. Any merit from our life, from our practice, we give it freely to others. That's when we did the service this morning. It's such an important part of Zen practice, that we feel this gratitude, and we want to give anything we have to others that would help them. There's no hesitation about that. We just give it freely, because it's nothing is held back. And what a beautiful thing to be able to do that. to have that movement in our lives of love, loving others, with all their people, with all their confusion, mixed upness, and small-mindedness, and fear, to give, to just give. To give whatever we can to help others be less fearful, less anxious, so that others could also see that we could be here and see that it doesn't be here without the struggle. We could just be here and be okay, really okay. Nothing's missing. So that's why we do the service. We're giving, you notice the Eno chants the dedication of each service. We always dedicate the merit to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout space and time. In the Mahayana tradition, we have a kind of cosmic sense that there's many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas everywhere helping us. And so we're giving the merit to them so that they continue to be that path of compassion. And then we dedicate the merit to all those that we know that are sick, that are suffering, and there's many in our community. And we dedicate the merit to all those who have died. And we have death and transition list, people that have died in the last year. We just went to a memorial showing a friend of ours whose son died of a heart attack at 36. We don't know when we're going to die either, which is again why there's some kind of urgency about wanting to find the path. When we were in the early days when Roshi and I started the Zen Center of Hawaii on the Big Island of Hawaii, we had a friend who, Roy Bufundo, who we had gone to his wedding, and then about shortly after his wedding, he had a heart attack, and he came to me and he said, "God, a third of my heart is no longer functioning. I had a heart attack. I survived, but it's pretty clear that I'm not going to survive a lot longer. I probably have, a short while left to live." Now, in a way, you could say that's awful, but in a way, he was lucky because he actually survived the heart attack, and he knew, like sometimes we don't know, he knew his time was short. And he came to me and he said, "I don't have a lot of time left." And he started practicing with earnestly. He came to retreats, he came to sitting, he showed up. He was searching for the way. And nothing like your own death to motivate you to search for the way. You think we have unlimited time. I'm sorry. We're all fading in the photographs. So we only have, like a blink of an eye, and then we're gone. So, it's a shame. And we have this thing, don't squander your life. Don't squander. The life we have is precious. We have this time. We have heard the Dharma. We have heard a beautiful, deep spiritual teaching. It's profound. And it's been around for thousands of years. This isn't some New Age thing. This has been here, this wisdom tradition carried down from India, China, Japan. Many people before us have clarified and realized their lives in this way, and we can too. And we're lucky, we're fortunate because we've heard the teaching. And we can practice it. We can clarify and realize it together, just like we're doing here. Even if it's just one day. How long does it take you to see that you are big mind? Does it take one day? Does it take time to be big mind? Is it something you become? Something you achieve because you did a one-day retreat? No, hopefully it's something you discover that's always here. And so then you feel like, gee, I should practice more so that I could actually see this clearly, because this is pretty extraordinary. And I get it. It may be hard to actually get that this is who I am. Yeah. Because we've all grown up with all kinds of conditioning that we have a name, we have a birth date, we have birthdays that we celebrate, we were born in a certain town, there's stories that go with that, and we're pretty fixed on that sense of that's who I am. You know, we were viewing that body of our friend who it was a viewing of the body yesterday. He's in, he's in the coffin with it's an open coffin, and he looks very peaceful, but he's not there. And when we die, if they have an open casket for you, and you see me, or for me, I die and you come and see me in the casket, I would look very peaceful there, especially if the mortuary is skillful and they can, make me look good. But will that be me? That body? Like you see me here? Is that who I am? Are we that body? Because when you die, that body is just a shell. There's nobody there anymore that you would recognize as who you thought you were. Maybe we can have a little discussion about this. Anything that's coming up for you around any of this? Anybody?
Big mind to me just feels like my natural state, meaning before all these narratives come into place, and it's my natural state is your natural state, is her natural state is his natural state, and I feel like if you don't intellectualize it, it's the easiest thing because it just is. It just feels pretty right.
Yeah, in fact, I think when we intellectualize it, we tend to lose it because it's already here before we think about it. That's extraordinary because we think about everything, right? And we think that our thinking is real and not thinking is not real. So when I ask you who you are not, and you feel confused or puzzled, how come that's not just as real as the person you think you are?
Freedom from delusions.
Freedom from that constricted self. That in the early koans we did with Roshi, he had we don't study them here so much. I do the first couple with my students, but those koans are designed to help us be free. Like one of Roshi's koans was something like, be a teapot and pour me a cup of tea. Yeah. How can I be a teapot? I'm not a teapot. Do I look like a teapot? But in the Doksan room, you can be a teapot. Yeah, and it's great. It's fun. You loosen up that constriction of, oh, I'm Robert Althouse. I'm bald and I'm overweight and I'm a Zen master or whatever. No, I can just be a teapot. Wow, that's freedom. And part of, I think, Zen training is learning to kind of stretch that a little bit. And yeah, I am this self in this body. I've been incarnated here, but I could take other perspectives. I don't have to. I'm not being locked into this persona. Is not freedom. It's fear. This ego that I have taken so seriously is basically based fundamentally on fear of losing my ground, my territory, being found out. I have to always prop something up to convince you that I'm okay, I got it together, that I know everything because I'm a Zen master. I don't know who I'm not, just like you don't know who you're not, but you've never known, what you'll never know. So I think that's the good news of Zen is that we can be both stable and grounded, but we can also learn to be flexible and freer. We don't have to hold on so tightly to our persona. And then you can function in any situation much more skillfully. And you can enjoy, you can improvise, you can play, you can be somebody else. I keep talking, so someone else talk. Yeah, Roshi.
So the shamatha, I go back to this beautiful interview that we had with Physical Institute, where the breath is not a breathing exercise. And I, for many years, looked at the breath, all of that breathing exercise. That can get kind of tiring and kind of boring, and there goes the mind. But what he said that really struck me was that a breathing is an awareness exercise. It's not a breathing exercise when you're focusing on the breath. And he said, because of our minds, our so busy minds, that's the ego constantly going. And as soon as you can let go of the ego, there's big mind. There's big mind. So he says, you can just have an intention, it's like not forcing the breath, just noticing, what is it doing? What does it feel like going in through the nostrils? Is it cool? Is it warm? What is it like when you exhale? What is that sensation on your body? Where is it going in your body? Just follow it there. You're not forcing anything. It's great because some breathing exercise, you have to breathe from the belly and and if you're not doing it, I'm not doing it right, So it's just so beautiful. And then he says, have the intention when you take your inhale just to go halfway, just to be attentive halfway of that breath. And when you do the exhale, especially the exhale, have the intention. Just go halfway of the breath, and then, your mind goes, okay, then you can just come back. It's you're building that focus and attention that you need to see what your mind is doing, and then, it's also a gentle, like Trungpa says, it's a gentle touch. Okay, I'm thinking, approach it in a gentle turn, like, thought. Yeah. And that's important. That's the gradual method, right? Of really building your attention, concentration. And then there's the big mind process where you can just, that's the sudden, you can just go right into big mind. It's a beautiful thing.
No, that's a beautiful thing you're saying about one-pointed attention, because I think a lot when people start doing this practice, they often get a little uptight about breathing because they're counting and you're bringing in this linear method, which seems necessary in the beginning because our mind is very busy and you're spinning off, so you need something that kind of helps you. It's actually very powerful because you're counting. It helps keep you honest because you see when you go off. But I agree that people get tense a lot with the breathing, and so to relax into the breath and actually be intimate with breath itself is a beautiful thing and a profound practice as well. But notice that still, in whether we're talking about shamatha or vipassana, we're talking about kind of a mechanics of practice. It's all right, we're kind of emphasizing that. But when we get to shikantaza, there's no longer any reference point. We're still breathing, we're still sitting, but you're relaxing into, the whole thing is relaxing, and you could be the breath in shikantaza, one with the breath, and but you're no longer watching it in the same way. It's just a little difference. And they're all good. I mean, I think mindfulness practices are we need mechanics and practice to get on the path. And when you've done those practices over time, at least in our tradition, you can explore moving to a deeper kind of shikantaza practice where you just let go of the reference points because you've internalized it. You've kind of figured out how to do that through the mindfulness practice, and you can let go.
Right. But there's a focus, that kind of concentration, ability that seems important.
Yes, but it becomes an effortless focus. It's not really a concentration implies a kind of struggle. And part of the paradox of this is that when you're doing deep shikantaza, the body is very relaxed and not holding any stress. The breathing is relaxed, but the mind is very sharp and precise. And usually when our mind is sharp, we're kind of tense. It's like drinking too much coffee or something. You're kind of uptight with it. So it's just, the body is relaxed, but the mind is very sharp, and it's a bit of a paradox. But I think we teach mindfulness here because I think it's important to have the mechanics of practice, because we don't have the context that other cultures might have had about Buddhism or Zen. But we kind of people need to learn the context for how we're doing this. And I think the mechanics of mindfulness are very useful.
People think, oh my God, there's so many thoughts, I can never get to that place of no thoughts.
Yeah. No, it's really not about not thinking. No, that's another misconception about anyone here have not thought this since I started this Dharma talk? Or didn't have any thoughts since you've started meditating in this retreat? Well, of course not. We're always thinking. But we can calm it down. If you're in the head in a certain way, you can be completely disembodied, and then you miss this. It's the embodiment that is where we come home.
I was just thinking for me that when I'm in the world, in my body, there's a trust, there's a peace, there is something, not just as an athlete, just if I honor that, my body knows so much truth. And because our culture also doesn't really talk about that very much. There's something, there's something incredibly beautiful about that moment trusting and being in my body. That feels similar. It's like big mind is body. I mean, that's the ultimate to me. That's how I understand.
Yeah, so what you're saying is really important, Carol, because it may seem like we miss the embodiment when we're talking about shikantaza. It sounds kind of big, right? So then there's no body anymore. And Logan says, dropping off body and mind. So it sounds like you're denying the body, but actually it's not like that at all, right? And that's why the beginning mindfulness is so important, because the first milestone in the signature classes, in the first series that we teach on the foundations of mindfulness, is embodied awareness. You begin to trust your embodied awareness as your direct experience is yours. It's not secondhand. And I think that's the first milestone on the path, is you all of a sudden realize, wow, you've got this wisdom and you haven't really been respecting it or listening to it. And it's always telling you, it doesn't lie. The body doesn't lie. So it's the first absolutely important milestone in Zen, is this embodiment. But then with that we can build. It's like having a foundation to a house. And now you can build walls, and you can put in windows and gables and a roof. We can add more to it.
That to me, it's like that concept of saying yes in a tender way. Kind of been my mantra for the last few months. Learning ways to say yes tenderly, not just but just how I am. I think it's a really important practice. But I feel like it's that gripping idea of let go.
Yes. Tension.
Good morning, Roshi.
Right.
Good morning, Roshi. I can't see you, but good morning, and Sangha. I am really moved inside. I'm extremely excited and very grateful. And what's coming to mind is that I spend a lot of my life in the third of the three you spoke about. And I think I'm understanding that the first two are extremely important, if not just as important, because there's a part of me that has been kind of anchored and attached to the third part of giving merit and being giving and loving and extending. And as I'm hearing you teach, it's really giving me some hope that I can unhook that by the first two, that's what I have right now. That's what I have right now.
Let me just restate what I heard you say, because I heard you saying that you were too giving in a sense, and you don't take care of yourself. Are you saying that? Kind of, that you need to.
I'm saying personally, yes, I believe that you understand me. I'm saying that the small me has just been paying very much attention to the giving in the wrong way, and not really spending as much excitement and investment in the first two, which I think would alleviate any kind of illusion that I'm suffering from doing the third.
Yes, this comes up a lot when we talk about the Bodhisattva vow. People feel like, if I take this vow, I have to give unconditionally all the time, and that's, Prabhupada called that idiot compassion, where we're just giving all. If you give all the time in a way that compromises your well-being and your health, then you're not able to actually be skillful as a person that's helping others. You end up compromising your own health. You don't take care of yourself. So I think this first, the relative side where we're searching for the way, all the many selves that we have in the relative world, the many roles and identities we have, those are all important. And one of those selves is the protector, the one who takes care of us. We have to take care of ourselves too. And if you just go right to the Bodhisattva vow without some sense of needing to be kind and loving to yourself, then it's easy to get unbalanced, right? Then you think that you always have to give, and then you don't draw any boundaries. And bodhisattvas draw boundaries all the time. Compassionate people draw boundaries all the time. They're not afraid to draw boundaries. So I think it's important that we be able to stand our ground, and Marshall Rosenberg would call it dogging for our own needs, which is a kind of interesting word. We don't think of a bodhisattva as doing that, but actually that is also a bodhisattva is someone who stands their ground and takes care of their own needs as well as the needs of others. And there need to be both sides to that. Otherwise, there's so many teachings in religion about compassion that just make us feel guilty. And that's not helpful.
Well, I think too, sorry, forgive me.
You know, the church tells you be more compassionate, and then they tell you a story about Mother Teresa, you know, and you say, oh my God, I'm never going to be compassionate like Mother Teresa. What's the matter with me, you know? So I guess I'll try to be compassionate. But you feel guilty at the same time because you feel like, well, I don't really measure up to it. And I think the teaching here is that compassion comes out of your own sad and tender heart. But it's really important, this gentleness, kindness, and embodiment to yourself, that you are unconditionally worthy is the bodhicitta. So the vow arises out of kindness to yourself in the first place. There has to be this making friends with yourself and all of yourself, all of it. You know, the parts you don't like too. And that's part of the bodhisattva path is you start by being kind to your all the parts of you you've disowned. Your anger, to your greed, to your jealousy, your everything. And I think that's so important in the path, this sense of being gentle and kind towards ourselves and all of our imperfections. And the Bodhisattva vow comes out of that place of, you know, a kind of proactive, loving kindness towards ourselves and to others. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the lesson, the big mind piece, I think has penetrated me today in a way that it hasn't before. And I just feel less suffocated by my own self. So I feel really grateful for that. Thank you.
Good. I'm going to start doing more big mind process for Sunday morning Zen, because I think it's helpful, and it's a way to get what we normally talk about more conceptually, to get it more directly through your own direct experience. So I think it's a wonderful upaya. Yeah. You cold? We can turn the heat up.
It's getting warm now. Can I add? So, I feel like something, I really resonated with what was just said, because I feel like something that my practice made me aware of was, I used to think that I was just a real big people person, and I just wanted to help everybody, and I was such a giver. But I think in actuality, I was just trying to get my needs met by premeditating the needs of others, and I'll do this for you, and I can do that for you. And it led to a lot of resentment that the other person didn't ask for. And once I started to realize that and became, I guess, a little more selfish, I feel like I've never been nicer.
All right. Yeah.
Then you're doing things because you genuinely are doing them for another person and not just to get that other person to like you.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the giving of the bodhisattva energy is that you're giving without, you're naturally generous if you're trusting your true nature. You have this big heart, and you don't expect any reward for it. It's not, you're not attached to the outcome. You just give. That's its own reward, so to speak.
Yeah, it's not to get.
Yeah, not to get. There's no pleaser in the bodhisattva. You're not pleasing. You're not doing it to please anyone. So, if you want to see how good you are as a bodhisattva, go home and visit your family. That'd be a real test, You think you're enlightened? Go visit your parents. See how long that lasts. Life, real life, where the rubber meets the rose. So we can also get inflated, and think that we, are. But you just have so many opportunities to practice if you have this openness to looking for seeing life as Dharma gates, and each opportunity that you have is a way that you could learn and be wiser and more loving in a way that's skillful. So we all learn from our mistakes, the way we don't do things well, and then we learn to be better. But I think the end thing I want to end with is practice is enlightenment. And so, we're here today practicing. You have made time to be here and I think that's the most important thing. We think we need to understand sutras and read, the Lotus Sutra, and no, really, it's good to study, but the most important thing is to practice. And it's not simply an intellectual thing. You have to get it in the body, and it's nonverbal. It's not you can't quite put it into words, but you know it and you feel it. Maybe that's enough for today. We could stop, and those of us that are here are going to have lunch upstairs. By the way, you don't know what you're missing. We have really good food when we have retreats here, because Teisho just goes, man, you can't believe the kind of food she cooks for us. So please, everyone, have lunch. We will come back at 3 o'clock, and we'll do our afternoon sit, and then we'll have dinner, and we'll have a closing council circle here tonight, starting at 7. So please follow the schedule and keep the spirit of this retreat alive as you go through whatever you're doing this afternoon, and we'll meet back here in the Buddha Hall at 3 p.m.